How does a game hold up over time? Do you have a favorite game from your childhood that you still defend to the death, but with a small, nagging doubt about nostalgia blinders? Hi, I'm Mel. My co-host Zoltan and I have decided to tackle these very questions using meticulous methods and scientifically unassailable conclusions. For this experiment, we chose Super Mario RPG for the SNES. Released in 1996, this game introduced turn-based gameplay to a Mario game for the first time. But it also introduced me to turn-based gameplay as a child and started a love affair with role-playing games that have lasted to this day. Zoltan, through some profound negligence, has never played this game. For this video, and others like it to come, one of us will assign the other a favorite game that the other hasn't played yet, and try to make predictions about how the first playthrough will go. So let's get started, shall we? Let's be honest with ourselves. Super Mario RPG isn't complicated. Other games of its day were doing a lot more with the genre, and Zoltan is a seasoned vet of JRPGs. Can wrap his head around picking one of three stats when leveling up? Can he see that higher numbers on equipment mean better equipment? I think you won't find too much challenge with this game. But you know who did? 9-year-old me. That guy struggled with almost every boss fight. The most complicated things Zoltan would need to figure out are the timed attacks, and honestly those might be tricky. The timing is weird on certain attacks and special moves, and the game never outright tells you what to do. It's not even always clear if you're succeeding at dealing extra damage. Let's see if Zoltan can guess at this better than a middle school student. The story of Mario RPG is something a lot of fans still praise. In particular, if you mention Geno in any gaming forum, someone will have an orgasm. I think that's a fact. But not me. I like the goofy characters. I like how Bowser was turned into a moron for the first time. I like new characters like Booster. But the rest was decidedly un-Nintendo. The Axum Rangers, the Smithy Gang. If Zoltan is anything like me, he'll see that some of this stuff doesn't quite gel with Nintendo, and with the rest of the Mario games. Games like Paper Mario have much more appropriate characters and enemies. Same goes for the Mario and Luigi series. So if that stuff seemed weird to me as a kid, how much weirder is it going to seem to Zoltan? Official conclusion? Pretty weird. Speaking of weird, how on earth is Zoltan going to take to these graphics? I really liked the different style they were going for in the early 3D era of games. There was this fake polygonal aesthetic that made everything look new and exciting, but if I had to throw one category under the bus for this episode, it would be this one. I have a feeling traditional sprite work would have stood the test of time better than the kind of lumpy character design that we ended up with. But let's cut to the chase, folks. We all remember this game today for one reason, and Zoltan probably already knew what that reason was. The music for this game is unforgettable. Now, I appreciate some good tunes, but Zoltan is an actual musician who plays actual instruments with his actual hands. There's no way he won't fall for this soundtrack. If any element aged the best in Mario RPG, it's the music. By far. Go listen to Forest Maze. No, listen to it again. Yeah, it's better than you remembered, right? So, Zoltan, help me out here. What did you think?
Hello, my name is the legendary Zoltan. Recently, a dude named Mel told me that I just had to play Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars. And since I always do everything that every random person on the internet tells me to do, I played the game. Mel told me that it was his very first RPG. I know that he has since become a fan of the genre, so I suspect that it's his most favoritist game ever. And he's probably thinking that my mind is getting blown by how amazing the game is. Most people who are fans of old school console RPGs like me, love Super Mario RPG. So what about the legendary Zoltan? Could Mel be right? Did I find the game to be amazing? Was my mind blown? Were any other parts of my body blown? We'll find out the answers to all of these questions right now. When you first start up the game, you are greeted with a Nintendo logo that melts away into a square logo. And then Princess Toadstool gets kidnapped by King Koopa. Again? And then it's time to do the Super Mario.
With the Mario Brothers and plumbing's again.
No, my God, no, not that one. The Mardi Gras one. This intro says to me, dude, Zoltan, look what I got in store for you, huh? All the goodness of Super Mario combined with all the goodness of an SNES Squaresoft RPG. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Well, it's not. It also says to me, dude, bet you can't play this.
Bet you can't play this.
No, seriously, what is up with that tremolo freaking xylophone part? I had no idea that Yoko Shimomura is the Yngwie Malmsteen of the xylophone. This game is from back in the day when games had really great intros that got you totally pumped to play a game. So let's make this the first item on my list of stuff that I liked. Sweet intro. Check. Now let's talk about my first negative. The graphics. It's a 2D game, but it looks like they actually use 3D modeling to create all of the backgrounds. Why would you do that? PS1 games don't look that good in 3D. There's no way you can pull off that look on a Super Nintendo. Once you get into the game proper, the first thing you do is go right into Bowser's castle to rescue the princess. This just goes to show you that nobody had ever thought to question Mario's judgment. Nobody's ever asked, hey Mario, why do you want to run to the right through 8 worlds when all you have to do is walk a little bit to the left and you'll be there? Huh? They did a good job on the tutorials here. They don't give you everything at once in an hour-long battle tutorial like in Resonance of Fate. But they don't spread it across 12 goddamn hours like in Final Fantasy 13 either. And this, of course, brings us to the battle system. It's basically your classic SNES JRPG, turn-based, menu-based, stat-based, tomato-paced combat. It's got a few pretzels in it that make it unique. Mainly the timed hits mechanic and the flower point system. When you attack an enemy, you can press the A button at the right time to deal double the damage for double the fun with Double Mint Gum. The timing is really freaking weird though, depending on what weapon your character is using. But the much more interesting twist is the flower point system. You use these points to cast magic spells just like MP in other games. The crazy thing about it is that you only have a single pool of flower points that all of your characters have to share. And the craziest thing about it is that you can only find flower point increasing items by exploring the environment for secrets. It's one of the things that make exploration rewarding in this game. That and invincibility stars. I can't believe they put Starmen in this game. You can't be getting experience points for every enemy killed by a Starman. That's cheating. Honestly, this game is not hard to begin with, but then you toss in free levels here and there, it's freaking amazing. If there were any reason for me to want to replay this game, it would be to see how badly I can abuse Starmen. Hello and welcome back to Mammogramma, where we break down and analyze the English language in a wide variety of literature in a way that's so fun. you'll love it more than you love getting a mammogram. Today we have a quote from the legendary Zoltan. He said, quote, "If there were any reason for me to want to replay this game, it would be to see how badly I can abuse Starmen." End quote. And he is, of course, referring to the Japanese role-playing game Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, the legendary Zoltan here is using what we call the subjunctive mood. By using the word were, he is implying that there is no way in fucking hell that he would ever replay this game. If he had instead said, if there was any reason, then he might actually give the game another go. But in this case, because he used the word were, we can deduce that he is indeed a horrible man who simply hates things that bring joy and happiness to others. I do say, what a bitch. This game is exactly like Dark Souls. Just kidding. This game's death mechanic is exactly the opposite of Dark Souls. Actually, it's interesting. In most JRPGs, when you die, you lose everything you had gained since you last saved the game. In Dark Souls, and Demon Souls by the way, you lose all the experience points you had gained, but you keep all the items you found. In Super Mario RPG, you lose all the items you found, but you keep the experience. They're crazy! So after your first few battles, boom! It's Mario versus Bowser. The final battle to save the princess. Already. Bounce on Bowser, save the princess, and this game is done, right? Wrong. Just as Mario saves the princess and is about to have sexy peachy upskirt yum yum time, someone suddenly walks in on them and they feel awkward. No. A giant sword, a gigantic sword, falls from the heavens and gets lodged right in the middle of Bowser's castle, sending Mario, princess, and everyone flying. Also, the bridge collapses, so Mario can no longer get to Bowser's castle by going left. I would say that was the entirety of the introduction, and that the real Demon Souls starts here. After you get the timed hits and timed defenses tutorial, you get your first real dungeon, your first real chance to explore, to grind, and to sing that freaking horn line from the battle music over and over again. So now we're on the subject of music. I suspect Mel thinks this game soundtrack is a masterpiece. I bet that Mel thinks that Yoko Shimomura is a goddess who can craft music that flawlessly fits the atmosphere of the game world, and that he would like to do her. Well, I agree with all of these sentiments. The soundtrack is a masterpiece. Yoko Shimomura does craft music that is flawlessly evocative of the setting, and I would also like to do her. But I don't really care for this soundtrack on the whole. Like I said, it is a masterpiece. The quality of the composition can't be refuted. It's just not a style of music I care to listen to. It's probably all of those xylophones and steel drums. Or maybe it's that the songs are too short. Or maybe I'm just bitter because she wouldn't let me do her. Overall, I found Super Mario RPG to be charming, but too simple. I had a good time with the straightforward battle system, the charming story, and the cute characters, but it was just too easy. It lacked customization, and the overall setting and atmosphere wasn't really my type. I would recommend this game to people who don't have a penchant for long, grindy, complex games. That about wraps up my opinions on Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Coming up next, Mel is going to grill me in a live one-on-one conversation about how horrible of a person I must be not to like the SMRPG LOTSSOST. Let's see how badly I've damaged his psyche.
And welcome to the part of the show where my co-host Zoltan and I have a live discussion about our experiences and hash out some of the details of what went on. And it'll also be the part for this episode where we introduce the name of the show, Turn-Based Memories. Zoltan, what do you think about the name?
I think it's boring. I think we should call the show Chrono Fantasy Laser Fest.
Motion denied.
I think it's a great name. I think it's a great name because it actually advertises that it's about RPGs, and that's what I like about it.
Yes, well, I like the laser part, and we'll consider it for next time. But for now, what I'm going to do is just chuck a couple questions your way about the experiences we've both had and what we mentioned in the first half of the show. So you left off on your part talking about what I might grill you about. And the thing I actually do want to grill you about is that why didn't you play this game when it was new?
Well, I didn't actually go into this game with zero experience playing it. I do have memories of when I was in 11th grade playing this game, but I know that I never owned it. I know that I didn't get that far, and I don't even know how I got it in that time. Like, I just remember, I just have the memory of playing it. Now, when I was in 11th grade, that was 1991? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was born, no, 91. That's 11 years old, not 11th grade. I'm sorry. You're 17 when you're in 11th, so it's 97. There we go.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Was that when the game came out? I didn't check the release date.
I believe 91 is correct.
And 97 is
doesn't
correct to
matter.
me?
97, yeah, 91.
Okay, so around that time. So I did actually play it close to when it came out. But
96.
Yeah. Okay, 96, so only a year later. And yeah, I don't know if I just rented it or somebody had it and I borrowed it. But yeah, the only memory I had before playing it this time was just kind of was Mario hopping across what I thought were lily pads, but they're actually tadpoles now that I remember it. At that pond, at that one place. Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
So that was the only memory.
Do you remember the commercials?
I didn't see the commercials.
Oh, okay. That's what actually made me... I think my older brother prompted me to buy this game because of the commercials. We could probably link to the commercial in the description. It's
Okay.
pretty funny.
I'd like to see them, actually.
It's an old man yelling about the 7 stars, and it was all over like kids shows at the time, and that was definitely what got me to buy it and find it on the shelf. But I didn't know what an RPG was, as I said earlier, so I didn't even know what I was in for. But seems like you played other role-playing games at the time, so I guess this one just passed you by, huh?
Yeah, well, I grew up, and maybe I still am this way, basically a very unaware person, even like unaware of my own opinions. And yeah, at the Super Nintendo era, despite playing, the most legendary games, FF6 and Chrono Trigger, I never said to myself, oh my god, I freaking love RPGs during the Super Nintendo era. It was after that.
Gotcha.
So
yeah. I feel like I was similar when I was younger as well. I was less critical and less discerning, and just things happened to me and I played them or I didn't play them and I never thought about why. So I can relate to that. I can definitely relate to that. Okay, so let's actually get into some of the experiences that you had. So I gather that you won't be playing this game a second time. Is that right?
Yeah, because the best grammar TV show in the world, Mammogrammar, explained that I was using the subjunctive mood, and that it's not a game that I'd like to pick up again. And it's not because I didn't like the game. I thought it was a good game, but well, it doesn't really have that much in terms of replay value, at least comparatively speaking, compared to the kind of games that I like to replay,
Right.
which are
It's simple.
Yeah, there's not a lot in terms of customization. And did you know this? That every third level up is the same for... I'm sorry, let me explain it better. Every third level up, let's say the third level up. Okay, level 3. Level 3, you can choose from the 3 stats, right? It's like a power and defense, magic and magic defense, or what was the third stat?
Special or something, or Yeah, power, magic, and
HP.
HP,
Was it HP?
that's right.
Was it separate? Yeah.
Yes, I believe
And-
you're right.
Yeah, and so say level 3, that will be the attack stat. The bonus points you can gain for the attack stat will be more than the bonus points you can get for the other two choices. And that's the same
Right.
with every third level.
I definitely didn't know that at the time.
Yeah, so then level 4 would be like MP and magic defense and magic damage, and then not MP, but magic damage and magic defense, and then the fifth level 5 would be HP, and it cycles around them for all three characters. So there's really no reason not to choose the highest increase for that level on every character every freaking time. So
Right.
you might as well just have every character becomes all purpose. Really, I mean, you can use Bowser for magic if you wanted to, and you can totally use Princess for physical attacks if you want to.
Yeah, that was. I gathered that Princess Peach is supposed to be used more for healing, but I definitely wasn't paying enough attention when I was a kid about like the leveling up. I vaguely recall hearing someone talk about how the leveling system works, like more recently, a little while ago. But I did not know that every third level it cycles like that. That's definitely not a mechanic I was paying attention to. But it highlights how simple this game was, and something else that you brought up during your piece made me kind of realize that this game ages well in a specific way, and it ages well if you play it as a child. If you play it as an adult and then 10 years from now, this game's not going to age that well. At the time when you're younger, you're playing in a smaller space, so everything seems larger when you're smaller in like a physical sense.
Yeah.
And that works almost this way for this game. And everything is simplified. The combat is simplified. The leveling is simplified. When you hang on to your experience after dying, which is something I didn't even know until you pointed it out, is a very simplified way of just saying, don't worry, you didn't lose any progress. Just keep pushing forward, which is what I did. That's how I played the game. It was designed for a child. And that is kind of why I think a lot of people call it a kid's RPG, because it's true. It's not just like a disparaging thing. That's kind of just how it is.
It's aimed at children. Yeah, I mean, they even put Mario in there, so yeah.
Right. It's definitely supposed to appeal to kids, not just aesthetically, which isn't always what it's supposed to be. What a childish aesthetic does. Like Mario appeals to adults too, and the platform Mario Odyssey is definitely I think it's mostly played by adults.
Yeah, probably.
Probably at this point. But yeah, they went out of their way to simplify what Square had made in the past into something digestible and as a good onboard for kids. And that, without even realizing it, that's exactly what that game had done for me. Because now I want to go back and play a whole bunch of SNES RPGs that I never played at the time because I was way too intimidated by them, and I never got around to them. So maybe in future episodes, that's a hint about what we might be covering then.
Yeah. They definitely, I agree, they definitely simplified it. And I don't have anything else to say about that. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much on the nose with that one. But you did speculate that this would be my favorite RPG, and I have to correct you on that. It's actually Skies of Arcadia.
Oh, whoa.
RPG.
That's a good RPG.
I don't know. Have you ever played that one?
I have. I don't think I ever finished it, but I've played it a lot. Definitely the beginning part I played many times.
Played on Dreamcast or GameCube?
On Dreamcast.
Okay. They're slightly different. They're not that different, though. You got the same gist of the experience between the two. But, that was definitely going to be, if we ever had to cover that in the future. But, so, regarding this game, however, something that you mentioned that I definitely want to touch on is the anti-Dark Souls quality of it, of hanging on to your experience after death, but losing your items.
An interesting thing, if I can cut in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
An interesting thing about it that I just realized as we were talking is that Dragon Warrior, the Dragon Quest series, also does this, which you'd think, well, doesn't that break the game? Yeah, because if you play Dragon Warrior 1, for example, the very first one, but I think even also all the way up to 8, they did the same thing. You don't lose your experience, you just lose half your gold, and I don't think you even lose any items that you found either. right? So
your items, I'm not sure. The gold, I think, is supposed to be the whole penalty. You lose
Right.
half your.
and you have to go back to wherever you last saved.
That's right.
You
I
have to
forgot
go there.
all about that.
Yeah, and so but in the case of Super Mario RPG, I guess it's just not grindy enough to warrant that.
Yeah.
Because-
No, there's not grindy enough. So you didn't grind at all in this game, really.
That's right. I didn't grind hardly at all. I started off thinking about grinding, fighting some battles, and then, but yeah, eventually I just saw that it wasn't that hard, and I didn't need to, so I
Right.
didn't.
So none of the boss battles gave you like any trouble, like just not doing too much damage or whatever.
The first one. So yeah, the first two actually. The first one I believe is the Hammer Brothers, and I failed because even though there's a tutorial all about timed hits and timed defenses, I forgot right after they told me that you could time the defenses, and so I didn't time any of the defenses until
Oh my god.
far into the game when I just suddenly realized from out of nowhere, oh, that's right.
Holy moly.
We can time the defenses too. So I died first time on Hammer Brothers, and I died first time at the purple dinosaur guy that runs around and you have to chase him.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy because the timed defenses are easily the more difficult part of the timed system where they sort of delay their attack and then fake you out. And then you have to sort of register the button at the exact right time so you have to memorize their attack patterns. Whereas your attacks, obviously, they stay the same almost the entire time.
Yeah. And so that could be one aspect of the replay value, I suppose, is to be okay, second time through, I'm going to block everything. I'm going to be able to block more things.
That would be a pretty, I don't know. I feel like if this game didn't catch you on the first playthrough, I don't know that it's really going to, going to hit you that hard on the second go around. But so even without blocking with the time defense, you still didn't have any issue with the bosses.
Yeah, mostly none. I did die at a couple guys. I died. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I died at the girl in the sky in the clouds with the large black bird.
Yep.
Because you remember they start off that boss battle by the bird takes away one of your party members and you just fight one-on-one against the bird. That was a great idea.
Yeah, they tried like Bowyer, the guy who would disable one of your buttons on the controller.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was that guy too.
Yeah, they did some cool stuff by trying to, swap up how exactly the fight went down. So it was kind of like role-playing game 101 where they throw a curveball at you. But,
they weren't big enough curveballs, though. I mean, there were some great ones. Like I think we just mentioned like the best ones, really.
Probably. Those are two that I remember right off the top of my head, so you're probably right about that. But for me as a kid, I remember like every boss encounter being sort of a big deal. So I must not have been using all of my items, or I must not have been using my special abilities the right way or something.
I don't know. Once you get Princess, man, stuff gets a lot easier in my opinion because
probably
her healing spells are ridiculous. She has like the healing spell that heals the entire party for like all their HP, nearly right from as soon as you get her, I think. And if you get the timed hit on that, it's like all your HP. And the really crazy thing is her freaking resurrection spell, I think it's called Come Back. It only costs like 2 or 3 flower points, and it brings them back to full life. That is insane.
I'm also pretty sure that the economy in this game is very abusable. Like, stuff doesn't cost very much, and it's not hard to just, like, get money to... So I'm sure I just wasn't doing any of the stuff that I would do today if this were a new game that I was coming into. So it was probably rigged to be difficult and like on par in terms of where they wanted the challenge to be for a kid who wasn't paying close attention. Like I had items, I bought stuff, probably just wasn't using them the right way.
Maybe. One thing you can do that I noticed after playing a little while is that the way to use the flower point items is not to be excited that you're going to increase your maximum number of flower points as soon as you get the item, but to just hold it. And once you're almost out of flower points, use it, and then it'll restore your flower points as well as giving you the additional permanent point.
So here's an insight into just how green I was with role-playing games. I thought, so those are obviously like an analog to seeds. You see seed, like strength seed in other games where they permanently, right. So it's one of those.
Yeah.
I was so unfamiliar with role-playing games at the time that I thought it was like a buff that would temporarily give you an increased pool of FP, which is like magic points in this game,
Right.
during a fight. So I saved most of those.
Oh, yeah. Which is kind of bad because this game has a pretty tight inventory, right? It's like 20
It does.
items. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so...
I'm sure I used them eventually, but I either wasn't noticing or I didn't collect a lot of them. I'm not sure what the situation was. But I remember deliberately saving them, not for the reason you said, but because I didn't want to waste them when I wasn't in a boss fight or some shit.
Yeah.
So that was... Yeah, that I definitely learned that on a subsequent playthrough a little while ago, where I was like, oh, wow, I was using these items totally the wrong way. So, I mean, there was a lot about this game that I was definitely sort of blind to as a kid. So, another question I have for you is, how much of the side content did you do? Did you find that, like, Final Fantasy-looking boss, Culex?
I didn't find Culex. I had heard of him, though, but I didn't find him. I didn't search high and low, though.
Okay.
The one thing that I remember doing is the sleeping at the inn in Monstro. I think it's the inn or a bed in Monstro Town, and these three ghosts come to you asking you to find their treasures, and they just give you a hint of where in the world it is, and you have to go find them. Like one of them is like it's behind a wooden flower. And
So you found all those?
I found them all. No guide.
Oh,
I
man.
looked for them myself, and I really enjoyed it. That was great.
The seasoned veteran.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know. When everybody has a type of gameplay that they prefer, and when it comes to puzzles, there are lots of puzzles that a lot of people hate. But I'm big into puzzles, and something like, find this thing with just this clue is kind of fun to me because what you're really doing. I mean, some puzzles are just totally a math game, and if you know the math or you can figure out the math, you've got it. But some puzzles are, like, for example, click and point adventure game type puzzles where you basically just have to try to figure out what was the developer thinking when he made this. And you just kind of have to try to figure out what's in their mind to find, the answer to the puzzle. And I like to go ahead and go to try that, even though a lot of people hate doing that kind of stuff. Like if the hints aren't strong enough or something. So I really liked that puzzle.
I definitely didn't have the patience for that as a kid, and I probably wouldn't today if I was going through it without a guide. And I wouldn't want to use a guide because I feel like that usually defeats the purpose. Either I play a game on my own, or I try to avoid using too many hints because then what's the point? I'm okay with skipping content in games today. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you went ahead and you got
did
that one, but you didn't find. I don't remember what it requires to unlock Culex. I know I did that, and I'm sure I found some sort of a hint or something somewhere to do it, but that's a pretty tough fight, so I would have been curious to know exactly how. It probably wouldn't have been too hard, though. So in an earlier recording, you said that the final boss was kind of a pain, right?
He was, because I think he's a lot stronger than the previous boss, Exor, and also like his own first form as well. Yeah, he took so much time, even though... I've been making a beeline. I was making a beeline through most of the game, with just a few exceptions. But Exor killed me one time, so I had to make a plan to beat him. And then when I got to the final boss, I didn't die to him, but oh my god, it took like 40 minutes to get through that.
Yeah, that final form, I remember breaking a sweat on that thing a few times. I know Peach definitely will help you power through it, but he keeps, you can get kind of screwed over with the RNG when he keeps, swapping his forms between, the magic and the tank head and stuff like that.
I think the magic head was the most dangerous one, if I can remember.
Yeah,
correctly.
It probably was. I remember being afraid of that cannon shot, but I'm sure I wasn't doing something exactly correctly, but I'm sure the magic, because it does, a giant, screen wipe, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah.
I think so. So I think one other last thing I want to touch on, I would be remiss if I didn't give you the floor on this a little bit, is there anything else you want to talk about in regards to the music? Because I definitely found the music to be a lot of fun, but one thing that kind of goes in line with the rest of our sort of collective assessment on this game is that the music is also kind of short and fit to the scale of this game, which is kind of small and sort of child-sized. And you mentioned that in your piece, and something that it never even dawned on me as someone who has listened to at least parts of the soundtracks and remixes of it on Overclock Remix. It's remixed to hell and back on that website. It never really dawned on me. So as you were saying earlier that this is, it kind of fits the bill, and it's a bunch of short tracks that aren't as long as you would have liked.
Yeah, I think most of them are around 30 seconds. At least a few that I counted were like 30 seconds. That includes like my favorite song. My favorite song being the Sunken Ship music, which even I can't remember what the melody is now, but it doesn't stand out much at all. I don't think anybody ever thought, oh, the best song is, I love the Sunken Ship song. I don't think anybody who loves this game thinks about that song that way.
They all talk about the Forest Maze song.
There's the Forest Maze, which is a great song, and I love it too, and I didn't time it or anything, but yeah, that one was also probably pretty short. But, this game only has like one regular battle song, and it repeats often, from the beginning every time. And also, even like within the loop, before the repeat, there's a repeat within the unrepeated portion. So
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately an all too common sin in role-playing games to just stick to one battle track and then maybe shake it up for a boss fight, and that's about it. I think Xenosaga did the same thing.
They did, yeah. Xenosaga was really bad. They had
they were really bad.
Yeah, one battle song and one boss battle song, and maybe a final battle.
Yeah, they had a final battle song for the last boss in that game, and that was the only, I think, alternative in the entire game.
But in the case of Xeno games, that one song that gets played over and over again is like really grand and dramatic.
Right.
I mean, that's a full orchestra as well.
It really is, and it was at least interesting to sort of listen to on first blush, whereas I think the battle theme in Mario RPG is really peppy and really cool, but I think it's very simple even on first listen. For me, I was able to let it sort of wash into the background. I don't remember it nagging on me too hard, but you're someone who pays a little more attention to music than I do, I think, so it probably got on your nerves a little more, huh?
It didn't really get on my nerves, but I mean, yeah, I didn't really want to hear it. I mean, this... I didn't. I mean, I avoided also a lot of random battles because I didn't feel like I needed to grind.
Okay.
But this is not the only game that has this problem, which is, in my opinion, and I'm going to take it further than what you think I'm going to take it to. In my opinion, this is a sin of RPGs that every freaking game still does, and I don't mean they need more battle tracks. I don't like when the area music gets interrupted. I cannot stand that. Which every game does, so you'd think I would have sworn off RPGs by now. But I would prefer either they just keep the same music as the area, because, one, you can hear that area's music all the way to the end with no interruptions. And then, two, every area has different music, so you won't be hearing the same song over and over again. Or I would prefer they do like what Breath of Fire 4 does. Have you played that?
I tried to play Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter, but that was the only Breath of Fire game I ever even tried to play.
Okay, I like that one, but it is very different from the first four, which are all medieval fantasy. Anyway, Breath of Fire 4 has a lot of these random battlefields that you can go into, and they just have the sound of like the wind and the trees. It's just ambiance. And then when you fit into a battle, it's the battle music. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with interrupting the ambient sound. I do not like interrupting the area music, and usually the area music is better than the battle music.
So you're saying like during when it transitions into a battle, you would prefer if it kept the same music that you were like on the overworld or something?
That's what I'm saying. Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that would be perfect for like Tri-Ace games, because they have a lot of really up-tempo dungeon themes, and lots of progressive rock that Motoi Sakuraba likes to make. But all those songs would be great for battle music, but they always switch to that one battle theme over and over again. Drives me crazy. Yeah,
that is kind of a habit that a lot of them, I guess, I don't know, right along with the screen transition having to be some sort of a glass shatterer. I think it's just a bad habit of JRPGs in general. And Mario RPG definitely falls in sync. It's a JRPG through and through. It's just like I was saying, it's a child-sized JRPG, so it's interesting. I mean, you definitely highlight a lot more than I would have kind of pulled out of my own head if I was just trying to recount my own experiences and even try to remain objective about this game on some level, because a lot of it I just didn't. It either didn't apply to me or my experience, or I just didn't see it or hear it.
Yeah.
The one last question I do have, however,
is
how cool is Gino?
Oh, that's right. I wanted to ask you, do you not have an orgasm when somebody mentions Gino in a forum? Gino is my least favorite character, actually.
Agreed.
Oh, for you too.
Yeah, I don't care about that guy. The internet seems to really love Gino, so we might get a little bit of hate.
I mean,
but this, I just don't care.
Well, as a person who's into writing and who's probably read a lot of books, definitely more than I, what do you suspect the reason that everybody likes Gino is?
Because he's mysterious. He's the cool, quiet guy.
Huh. That's the reason, huh? I mean,
I think that's the reason.
Huh. I don't know. I like his mission, to repair the Star Road. I like him for that little bit, but I don't care that he's a doll come to life. I don't like him as much as the Mario characters, just because he's not established and they were established before you even play the game. And I don't like him as much as Mallow because, I don't know, Mallow has some growth, I think, some development. And I don't think Gino really has any development, does he?
He has zero character. He's a star entity that inhabits a doll.
Yeah.
And then he's basically there to give you another cast member. He has really cool moves. As a character in the game, he's got like a gun arm. That's cool. That's probably why people like him. He's got a gun for an arm. And he's got like really interesting looking magic. And I guess he's a really potent... I felt like when I was playing, I don't know if this is even really true, but I felt like when I was playing, he was a really strong character. Did you use him a lot?
I used him not a lot, but some. But yeah, I thought that he was a really good physical attacker.
Who did you use mostly?
Mostly, okay. Well, in the beginning, you have to use whoever you have. But then, once I got most of them, I basically just used. I think Mario has to stay in, right?
I think so.
So yeah, Mario, Bowser, and Princess are the three I would tend to use, and I like to occasionally switch in Mallow for either Princess or Bowser, but I don't know. Two physical guys and a healer was like working out well for me. And so once I got Bowser, I was happy to just leave him in for the bulk of the game.
I definitely used Bowser a lot, probably because I thought it was really cool that Bowser was playable. And I know I used Peach because even as a kid, I realized, Peach is the one that does the healing. So
cool.
So yeah, that was my final question. I think that's going to actually wrap it up for this segment. So I want to thank everyone for listening this far, and I want to thank my co-host Zoltan.
You're welcome, man. Thank you.
Thank you for coming together with me on this, and perhaps next time, do you have any kind of a hint about what you might want to assign me, or is that still up in the air?
It's still up in the air. Let's talk about it after this.
We'll talk about it afterwards. But we got a couple ideas on paper, and we will get that to you when we can. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I have been Mel, and this has been Zoltan for Turn-Based Memories.
Good night.